On today's episode, I want to discuss end-of-life planning. Don't be scared. I know this is never a pleasant conversation to have, but it's an incredibly important issue. Also, if you're listening to this, you may jump to the conclusion that this is a topic only for people at older ages, perhaps even much older ages, but that's not the case. This is an issue for everyone. I do not consider myself at an advanced age at 50, and I have had end-of-life planning in place, my wife and I, for a very long time. What we're going to be talking about are two important documents, a living will and a durable power of attorney, and I have had these documents for over 20 years. The reality is that smart end-of-life planning can help provide you and loved ones peace of mind. And again, that's incredibly important. So we're going to talk about these two documents, a living will and a durable power of attorney. Please note that I am not an attorney, so you should seek legal advice when looking to establish this part of your estate plan, the important end-of-life planning. So let's jump into it. A living will. First off, let's talk about the difference between a living will and a regular will. A regular will outlines what you want to have done with property and assets after you die. In contrast, a living will communicates what you want to have happen while you're still living, but unconscious, incapacitated, or in a terminal state. By the way, a living will is also known as an advanced healthcare directive. I'm simply going to use the term living will, which is probably more of a popular term, but know that they're sort of interchangeable. Also note that state laws on living wills, as well as durable powers of attorney, do vary a bit state by state, so you want to be aware of your own state's laws and regulations regarding these documents. So a living will can prevent your family and loved ones from having to go to court to protect their assets in an event of an accident or an emergency. And think about this. If you have a crisis, some medical emergency or a bad accident, how problematic would it be if you're dealing with that and also having to go to court? That sounds awful, because it is, and a living will can prevent that. I've done some research, and I want to share with you some common top questions to consider when preparing a living will. Again, as I said at the outset, I know this is kind of unpleasant and a little gory, and nobody likes to think about this, but as I said before, it's important. So some top questions. Number one, what would you want to have happen if you could no longer breathe on your own? Number two, if you can no longer feed yourself, how do you feel about feeding tubes? Number three, what types of pain management drugs or procedure would you be comfortable with? Is there anything that you would want to avoid if you were in that situation? Number four, do you want a do not resuscitate order? And you see this a lot if you watch these medical dramas. Years ago there was ER, and I'm sure there's others today I can't think of at the moment. But a DNR, do not resuscitate. The other part of number four is DNI, do not intubate. And again, you see this in the medical dramas. I think that's when you put the tube down to assist you with breathing. So that's number four. Do you want a DNR and or a DNI resuscitation and intubate? And lastly, number five, how do you feel about donating your body or organs after your death? So that's the living will and 5 key questions to consider. Of course, the 5 questions are not an exhaustive list, but key common questions. Let's talk about the durable power of attorney. A power of attorney authorizes someone of your choosing. Typically, it's a family member, could be a spouse, or even a trusted friend, to handle matters like finances and or healthcare on your behalf. A durable power of attorney remains in effect if you become incapacitated, such as due to illness or an accident. So some examples of what a power of attorney can be utilized for is the buying and selling of property. Somebody's in an accident, they're in a coma, and something needs to be done in their financial lives, like buying and selling property, managing bank accounts, bills, and investments, filing tax returns, also applying for government benefits. Those are some good examples to kind of give you a little bit of a picture of what the durable power of attorney allows for. You can have a single power of attorney to cover both medical care and finances, but most attorneys, most legal advice is not to do that, that it's preferable to have separate documents. One durable power of attorney that deals exclusively with the medical issues, and one exclusively that deals with the financial issues. By separating them out, it seems like it does a couple of important things. It ensures focus on the respective topic at hand. These can be kind of complex once you begin sort of going down the rabbit hole. What about this? What about that? So having them separate allows for a better focus. It also helps avoid oversharing of irrelevant information. I think it's fair to say that often the person named in each of these two documents, or even all three documents, tend to be the same family members or trusted friends. Let me point out this important aspect of this. With these documents, you can name backups. So, for example, it's common, and in my personal situation, my spouse is the lead on all of these documents, that I would want her to have the durable power of attorney for both healthcare, for finances, as well as named in the living will. Then you can name backups. So it might be a brother, sister, mother, father, friend, what have you, so that if that person is unavailable or not on scene, the document calls for who would stand in next. So backups are also key. You can revoke a durable power of attorney anytime as long as you're mentally competent. So those are the two key documents that are end-of-life planning. Again, I want to communicate to you that this is not only for older individuals, it's for just about everyone. You should have an estate plan, and end-of-life planning, the living will, and the durable power of attorney are two very important parts of that planning. And I would strongly recommend you, if you have not put these documents in order, that you should do so. Seek out some advice. Contact us here at Elliott Wealth Management Services. We could work with you and with your attorney to make sure you have proper planning. And I hope that you found this information valuable. I appreciate you listening. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please do so, as well as recommend it to a friend, family member, coworker. I mentioned Elliott Wealth Management Services. If you want more information about me and the rest of the team here at Elliott Wealth Management, please go to the site. It's www.elliottwealth.com. I will be back with you on the next episode of the Simply Financial Podcast very soon.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of SagePoint Financial Incorporated and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of the information provided at these websites, nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management, LLC, not affiliated with SagePoint Financial.